It's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you today, so thank you very much for having me. A funny thing happened when I was preparing for today. I'd intended to write a reflection on my life in love. Instead, I wrote a children's story, and I would like to share it with you today. It is allegory, and it is autobiographical for me. And maybe it will be biographical for you. If you've ever been hurt, if you've ever been afraid, if you've ever discovered yourself when you've loved, maybe this is your story too. One text note so that you can sort of retune your ears. What we call eggs are hard whites where baby birds live in the story. So eggs are what you eat, and I couldn't bear that in this context, so I changed it. Once and always, there lives a little blackbird. Her home is a nest of twigs, mama feathers, and bits of twine nestled in the arm branches of a small pear tree. She would have liked to share her nest with other little blackbirds, but she was the only one. From the day the first crack let in the great light, from the first night in the warm shelter of Mama Blackbird's wing, this is how it was. Little Blackbird sang the songs her mother sang. She even made up her own songs. She was happy. Weeks passed. Little Blackbird watched her brown and gray feathers slowly turn black as pitch, dark as night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. One day, Mama Blackbird flew away to gather more food, as she often did. Little Blackbird sang as she waited for Mama Blackbird to return. She sang the most beautiful song she'd ever sung. The wind lifted her song high above the firework blossoms of the pear tree. It spun out from the tree and kissed the taffeta wings of unsuspecting insects. It swooped down and tousled the still green fallen leaves living at the base of the tree. Suddenly, the song stopped. Little Blackbird was stricken with fear. A creature with giant eyes, claws, and feathers that looked nothing at all like feathers was scampering down the arm branch straight for her. She didn't know what to do. She tried to make herself invisible by moving to another part of the nest. It was too late. The creature had heard her song. She cried out, "Mama!" Just then, she felt the nest jostle and unhinge itself from the pear tree, her home. She was falling. She watched the arm branches get farther and farther away. She longed to feel the warmth under Mama Blackbird's wing. She tried to use her wings to fly, but they weren't ready. She hit the ground with a thud. Mama Blackbird had heard Little Blackbird's cry and flew back to the nest as fast as she could. She found Little Blackbird stunned, half covered by a blanket of green leaves. Little Blackbird broke her wing. Mama Blackbird quickly flew up to inspect the nest. She hurriedly secured it again to the arm branches of the pear tree, her home, then carefully gathered up Little Blackbird and brought her back to the nest. Would Little Blackbird ever fly? Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Mama Blackbird did everything she could to nurse her baby back to health. Little Blackbird grew stronger every day, but Little Blackbird became more and more afraid to leave the nest. She didn't want to fly. She only wanted to stay nestled with Mama Blackbird in the arm branches of the pear tree, her home. And she certainly did not want to sing. So Little Blackbird's song was silent. At the end of springtime, Mama Blackbird and Little Blackbird got a new neighbor. Mrs. Blackbird flew in on a warm Gulf breeze and came to make her home in the pear tree. For days, little Blackbird watched as Mrs. Blackbird built her own nest of twigs, mama feathers, and twine nestled in the arm branches of the small pear tree. Soon, there were 3 hard whites where baby birds live in the nest with Mrs. Blackbird. The air was warm, light danced with the green leaves. The arm branches of the pear tree, her home, were heavy with large green, sweet-smelling fruit. But little Blackbird dare not sing. And sometimes wet drops bumped gently against the nest and made small drinking puddles on the leaves of the tree. She wondered what it might be like to play with the wet drops. But little Blackbird was too afraid to leave the nest. Little Blackbird was too afraid to fly. Mama Blackbird and Mrs. Blackbird were away gathering food when little Blackbird was engulfed by the great shadow of a bird whose wings were as big as a tree, whose feathers were as brown as earth, whose claws were as black as a blackbird's feathers. Before a little Blackbird understood what was happening, the shadow bird flew down to Mrs. Blackbird's nest, scooped up one of the hard whites where baby birds live, and flew away with it. Little Blackbird wanted to call out for help, but she did not sing because she was afraid. The shadow bird came again, now even more terrifying than before, and yet little Blackbird did not sing because she was afraid. She buried her head under her broken wing, closed her eyes, and wept softly. Little Blackbird was afraid and alone. She would have liked to share her nest with other little blackbirds, but she was the only one. Could this be why little Blackbird has always been alone? She wondered. Maybe the other little blackbirds who were meant to share her nest were scooped up by shadow birds too. Could it be that some unknown blackbird sang a song that saved little Blackbird's life? Just then, little Blackbird looked up and saw the great bird through the light-danced leaves of the pear tree, her home. Scared but determined, little Blackbird sang a song from deep within her heart. She sang to save the last hard white where baby birds live. She sang because she was afraid. Her song grew louder and louder until the wind lifted her song high above the firework blossoms of the pear tree. It spun out from the tree and kissed the taffeta wings of unsuspecting insects. It swooped down and tousled the still green fallen leaves living at the base of the tree. The song even reached Mrs. Blackbird, who just in time flew down to protect the last hard white where baby birds live. With tears in her eyes, little Blackbird sang a song for the 2 that were lost. Mama Blackbird returned in time to hear little Blackbird's song. She wiped little Blackbird's tears with a single feather, then gathered her up to rest in the warm shelter of her wings. All your life. For more time than is comfortable for me to consider, I've been silent. Somewhere along the way, I let silence be my God. I remember a small brown girl with a round belly in plaid bell-bottoms, proud because she just learned her colors. She had a voice. She loved to sing. She spoke to everyone she met, but she didn't stay for very long. She got lost in circumstance, lost in people, and I thought I'd never see her again. Love gave me back my voice. And I don't mean receiving love. I mean the act of giving love, offering myself in love, has given me back my voice. Once and always, there was a little blackbird. And I can't be silent when there are so many to care for. I can't be silent when there are so many injustices. There's a quote by Martin Niemöller. They came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. They came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. They came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. They came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up. How can I be silent if love abounds in me? I'd hoarded it for so long, and it was time to give it away. And it's not easy. It's flying on a broken wing. As the days passed, little Blackbird felt more and more brave. She'd ventured out of the nest and began to test her wings. She started with small flights from branch to branch so that she could just feel the wind under her wings. Then she began jumping from higher tree branches down to lower ones, but she was still so afraid. Little Blackbird had learned to hop from low arm branches of the tree all the way down to the ground. She would practice short flights down to the soft bed of once green leaves at the base of the pear tree, her home. She knew she could never fly like other blackbirds. She played in the leaves looking for drinking puddles that had gathered on the leaves and pecked at the large, green, sweet-smelling fruit that had fallen to the ground. By this time, Mrs. Blackbird's hard white, where baby birds lived, had seen the first crack that let in the great light. Little neighbor Blackbird was soon singing his mother's song and even making up his own. He was happy. Little neighbor Blackbird watched his brown and gray feathers slowly turn black as pitch, dark as night. Suddenly, little neighbor Blackbird's happy song was filled with terror. Without even thinking, little Blackbird mustered all of her energy and flew up into the arm branches of the pear tree, her home, to the nest where she found little neighbor Blackbird teetering off the edge. With her broken wing, little Blackbird gently nudged him back into the nest. She would not leave his side until Mrs. Blackbird returned. And then little Blackbird remembered what she had done. She could fly. She could fly for other little blackbirds. She could fly for herself. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. So with her broken wing, she learned to fly. Little Blackbird sang the songs her mother sang. She even made up her own songs. She sang for other blackbirds. She sang so the wind lifted her song high above the firework blossoms of the pear tree. It spun out from the tree and kissed the taffeta wings of the unsuspecting insects. It swooped down and tousled the still green fallen leaves living at the base of the tree. She was happy. Once and always, there lives a little blackbird. Blackbird, fly.